We're fearlessly talking about the biggest stories that matter to you the most. Breaking news, John Calipari is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the Arkansas Razorbacks' next head coach, covering college sports like no one else. The biggest guests in sports. We now welcome in Hall of Famer Jim Calhoun.
Such a pride I had, I came to Connecticut.
The legend, Tim Tebow, joins us.
We'll run it back. I like it.
The legend, Herschel Walker. Welcome in, everybody. Little Thursday morning edition, A&M-Notre Dame Sports Podcast. I'm your host, A&M Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a great day. We got ourselves, I think, a fun little Thursday show. Obviously been, a pretty serious week in the world around us. Obviously, today is September 11th. We honor and, remember the people that were lost many, many years ago now. But listen, this is a sports show. We like to have fun. We like to talk ball. We like to joke. We like to bust chops. I hope you guys blow me up in the comment section here, but we should have a pretty fun show here. Week 3 of college football is just crazy. We are going to talk all the big games. Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, LSU, Bama. I think this is maybe the most important game that they will play of the Kalen DeBoer era to date. So we'll discuss all that. We'll talk a little bit about Joey Aguilar, because to me, this feels like a potential national coming out party for Joey Aguilar, the Tennessee quarterback. His story is unbelievable, and I think especially if Tennessee wins, they are going to, we're going to hear a lot more about it. We'll discuss the weird, I know it's a few days old now, but the AP voter, weird, I think Haley Sawyer's her name. What are we doing here? Come on. And then finally, we'll wrap. I think a really fun interview that you guys and girls will enjoy. The NIL space is just in a wild place right now. And I only bring it up because Blake Lawrence is, in charge of a company called Open Doors, maybe the most prominent NIL company in America. He is one of the leading experts on NIL. Thought it would be an interesting conversation to have, especially this time of year as we're into college football. Where is NIL now? Where is it going? Blake Lawrence from Open Doors will join us later in the show. Before we get started, a couple of reminders. One, make sure you're subscribed to A&M Torres Pod YouTube channel. New clips, videos going up every single day. By the way, we did officially surpass 60,000 subscribers just the other day. So we really do appreciate your support. For those of you who are not yet subscribed, please make sure to do so. Also, you can subscribe on Apple, Spotify as well. As we get ready to talk week 3, we also got to acknowledge our friends, our casino and hotel partners. We got to talk Circa Sportsbook and Circa Casino. Okay, so listen, first of all of our point spreads, all of our lines provided by Circa Sportsbook. Circa, best sportsbook in Vegas, biggest sportsbook in the world. This is the place that if you are in Las Vegas, you got to go check out for yourself. Great place to watch games, great place to hang out with your buddies all year long. But, especially now, college football on Saturdays, NFL on Sundays, that is the place to be. What's really cool about Circa, why I'm so fired up to be working with Circa, is that they have just opened a replica sports book out in Franklin, Kentucky, Mint Kentucky down. So if you live on that Kentucky-Tennessee border, it's not far from the Tennessee line. Go ahead and check it out. And this is the place. Listen, we're in a world now where it costs so much money to watch all the sports you want to watch. By the way, did you see what Adam Silver said the other day? Oh, it costs a lot of money, but we're a highlight sport anyway. Adam Silver's a clown. But the point is, the question was fair of it costs so much money to watch sports now. You need a place to do it affordable, fun, hang out with your buddies. Go to the Circa Sportsbook. If you're in Vegas, that's the place to go. But again, Mint Kentucky Downs, Franklin, Kentucky, that is the place that you want to check out. By the way, if you end up there on a college football Saturday or an NFL Sunday, make sure to tag me at Aaron_Torres. And make sure to tag them as well at Circa Sports so they know that Torres sent you. With that said, speaking of Circa Sports, let's go ahead and dive into the week 3 college football spreads. College football. AaronTorresOnline.com. That will go up this afternoon. Listen, I'm just going to say it. Yesterday was a little bit of a serious day. A lot of stuff going on in the world. Did not get to do the picks, but I will do them tonight. They will be up this afternoon. So Let's get to our week 3 picks. And I'll tell you what, if you are watching the Aaron Torres pod live here on YouTube, you get yourself a little bit of a preview of what those picks are going to look like a little bit later. But let's go ahead and jump into the picks. We're going to go a little bit out of order based on kind of time frame and timeline, but we got to talk about the most significant game first. It is in beautiful Knoxville, Georgia at Tennessee. In the Circus Sportsbook, Georgia is a 4-point favorite. The over-under set at 50. We jump right into these picks. I give you my picks. I actually do like Tennessee. Listen, I think there's a couple variables here. One, first of all, for Joey Aguilar, first SEC start at home, that certainly helps. I think conversely, this is the first road start for Gunnar Stockton. And listen, I know this kid has played in a lot of high leverage games. I understand that he, won an SEC championship game. He didn't start, but he played in it. He started a college football playoff game. I do think it's a little bit different, though, going on the road to a place where you're going to be in front of 100,000 people than playing on a neutral field in New Orleans or Atlanta. I would also add, Kirby Smart has said all the right things about we prepare our guys year-round for moments like this. We don't just start turning on music at practice on Monday, but I do think it's a little bit of a different deal. And so you're going on the road. Two of your offensive linemen were a little bit banged up going into this game. Ernest Green and Juan Gaston left last week's game. And, I just think the combination of inexperienced quarterback on the road, O-line that's a little bit banged up. And by the way, I think there are still questions about Georgia. Remember, last year, 102nd in the country in rushing. Like, is the run offense actually fixed? Or is it at all possible that they just have played Austin Peay and Marshall? So much tougher test on the road. I do like Tennessee. We did do a full preview of this, both on this channel and the college football betting channel. So make sure to check that out if you have not already. I do like Tennessee -4 later in the day. By the way, somebody in the chat saying Georgia new playbook reveal 3 p.m. Saturday. I don't fully get that, but I do like Tennessee to win. I do like Tennessee +4 for sure. My official pick, by the way, will be +4, but I think they win outright. Let's keep it going. Let's stay with some of these other big games. A game that I low-key, I don't think it's on anybody's, Mount Rushmore of 2 or 3 most interesting games of the weekend. I'll say this, though. I think the Alabama-Wisconsin game, to me, might be the most important game of the Kalen DeBoer era so far. And by the way, maybe every game going forward will be, but this one's big. It's an 11 local time start. Alabama, a 20.5-point favorite. Over-under in this game is 47.5. I actually like the under in this game. Now, why is it important for Alabama? Besides the obvious, you can't lose this game, whatever. Wisconsin is a good team, but it's kind of the team that if you're Alabama, you should be able to kind of smack around a little bit, okay? Because here's the bottom line is, first of all, even with the bigger picture with Alabama, I think we're going to learn. You lose that game to Florida State, but the more that we look at Florida State, I think there's going to be a conversation of Florida State might just actually be a legitimately good team. And if Florida State's a legitimately good team, as the season goes on, you can sit there and sort of justify week 1 on the road, better than we thought, Gus Malzahn offense. But at the same time, if you don't come out and smack Wisconsin, I think we got to start having real questions about, are you all bark and no bite? Weird pun, I know, because we just talked Georgia. But are you one of those all bark and no bite teams? You say all the right things. You beat up the weak. You beat up the group of 5 teams on your schedule. But when it comes to playing, smash mouth football, can you handle the teams that you're supposed to handle? Because, again, the standard at Alabama is college football playoff appearances, now in a 12-team era, deep runs, and national championship competition as well. So I just bring it up to very simply say that, in my opinion, this one's huge. You have to come out, you have to dictate terms, and you got to do it against a team, by the way, that I don't think people realize. Wisconsin, maybe not great, but far from terrible. Top 5 total defense, top 5 scoring defense. The issue for Wisconsin, they have essentially no offense to speak of. The offense is, probably going to play a backup quarterback this week. They don't run the ball the way that they used to. This is like the old school Wisconsin teams without the, ground and pound element of it. It's just a team that plays really good defense. So Alabama, you better win this game like 28-10, 28-3, something like this. I think Wisconsin's defense is too good for us to just assume that Alabama is going to win 49-0. But listen, you have to win this game, and you have to make a statement because, of course, Alabama fans know this. Alabama's last out of conference game before they get a bye next week, and then they go to Georgia 2 Saturdays from now. Let's keep it going. What should have been maybe the biggest game of the weekend, now a little bit of an afterthought. I think it's safe to say Florida at LSU. LSU an 8.5-point favorite in the Circus Sportsbook. Over under set at 47. I'll get to my pick in half a second. Billy Napier just screwed this one up so bad, man. I mean, this was supposed to be the college game day game, statement game, rivalry renewed, all of that. And then they lose to South Florida. And it was funny. I just got off with Texags, my buddy David Nuno, and we were talking about the fact that, like, when you look at this game, excuse me, we can celebrate what USF did, and there's a possibility that USF is just actually good, while also acknowledging that if you're Billy Napier, you can't lose that game. You can't lose that game in the manner in which you lost that game. So it's a disaster for Florida. I find it hard to find 6 wins on that schedule. But then conversely, I think there's a conversation about what is LSU right now? Because when you look at LSU, when you think about LSU, I said I thought they should be number 1 in the country coming out of week 1, but they struggle against Louisiana Tech. Clemson certainly struggle with Troy. And you sit there and say, is that a great win for LSU, or is maybe LSU not quite as good as we thought, and Clemson definitely isn't as good as we thought? So I bring it up to say that my official pick in this is the under of 47. Let me explain why. I don't know much about these teams right now. The one thing that I do think that I know, right? I think it was Peter King used to do, these are the things that I think. Well, one thing I think is that LSU defense is legit. Blake Baker, year 2. You go on down the list of dudes on that defense that could play anywhere in college football. Patrick Payton was basically an All-American at Florida State. AJ Halsey's really good, even though he was suspended for last week. Harold Perkins, they finally figured out what to do with them. So I think that defense is legit. I also think Billy Napier's offense kind of plays into games going under, up until the end when he refused to run Jaden Baugh with under 3 minutes to go. Runs the ball, not a lot of pace to it, whatever. This game just has like 24-14 written all over it, 24-17, 24-10, whatever it may be. But I like the under in this game. I just don't think there's a lot of scoring. Let's keep it going. More picks. By the way, drop your picks, your favorite game, whatever in the chat. Want to get to some of your questions and comments in just a minute. Let's get to a big one. Another SEC opener. So 3. Well, an SEC opener for one team, not another, but 4 in-conference SEC games. We won't preview Vandy, South Carolina here, but Ole Miss hosting Arkansas. This actually opened as a 10-point, as Ole Miss as a 10-point favorite. Is down to 8 points in the Circus Sportsbook. The over-under set at 61.5. I like Arkansas to cover. And maybe, just maybe, there's a big pig invasion into the win column. I'll just go ahead and take Arkansas +8. Why do I like Arkansas +8? It's pretty simple. First of all, with Ole Miss, listen, I don't want to dismiss Ole Miss going on the road and winning an SEC game at Kentucky. Okay, anytime you can get a win in the SEC, it means something. Anytime you can get a win on the road, it means something. But I think there's a lot of questions coming out of that game. Austin Simmons threw 2 games, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 4 first-half interceptions. Keep in mind, by the way, Arkansas, that secondary appears to be much better. Lane Kiffin even referenced it in his press conference this week of like, hey, in this portal world, you can make a weakness a strength really quickly. And it appears as though Arkansas may have done that, or at least that's what Lane Kiffin sees on tape. The other thing with Ole Miss, there was never a moment where you sat there and said like, oh, they're in complete control of this game against Kentucky, which frankly might be the worst team in the SEC. They fall down 10-0. They do rally. You never really feel like they're going to lose, but you never really felt like they put their full foot to the gas. So I just bring it up because this feels like a spot where I'm a little down on Ole Miss. And Arkansas just might flat out be good. And I've said this a few times throughout this week. Yes, I have been critical of Sam Pittman. Yes, I am the guy. You can find the video 2 weeks ago of me saying, go get John Gruden. But it doesn't change the fact that this is a program, and I think this is important. Both coordinators were back year over year. Talon Green's second year in that Bobby Petrino system. Talon Green right now with 10 touchdown passes in 2 games. That's tied for most in college football. The guy he's tied with, by the way, has already played 3 games because it's the Maverick MacGyver kid, or however you say his name, from Western Kentucky. And he played in week 0, so he's played 1 more game than Talon Green. So I just bring it up because I like the spot. This series has been close. It's easy to forget. Both Pittman and Lane Kiffin came to their respective schools in 2020. Pittman is 2-3, so he's won 2 against Kiffin head-to-head. Of the 3 losses, 1 was by 1 point in overtime. That was the 52-51 craziness. 2 years ago when Arkansas was terrible 4-8, it was still a 1-touchdown score in Oxford. And then, oh, by the way, last year was the one blowout. But I think even last year, Arkansas had one of the worst pass defenses in college football. Ole Miss had one of the best quarterbacks in college football, and you could see how that would be a blowout. So this series has been close. I like Arkansas to cover. I think there's a world where they win. Really quickly, 2 more picks for week 3 in college football. Let's go to the ACC. Clemson, a 4-point favorite at Georgia Tech. Everybody loves Georgia Tech. I'm going to take Clemson -4. I don't love taking road favorites, but I just think, look, I think everybody's a little too excited about Georgia Tech after that week 1 win over Colorado. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but when Haynes King wasn't running the ball down people's throats, the reality is they didn't really have very much on that offense. Well, it's going to be much harder to run the ball on that Clemson front 7. And so I just bring it up. If Haynes King isn't making plays with his legs, I don't really know what that offense is. Beyond that with Clemson, 2 things. One, I thought Dabo brought up an interesting point this week. He said, he talked about the Nick Saban rat poison, and he basically said, like, look, for years, these guys have been getting the reverse rat poison. I think he called it the you suck poison, where basically everybody has been telling them for the last 2 years, you guys suck. You're Clemson's never going to be the same. You're part of the downfall of the program. And then all of a sudden you're 2 weeks away from the season and it's like, oh, you guys are awesome. You guys are amazing. You guys might win the national championship. And so I only bring it up because to me, what this says is that, this was the first time that Clemson team really got a lot of hype behind them, really got a lot of excitement. And so I sit there and I do wonder, like, is it at all possible that maybe, just maybe, this team was kind of buying their own hype and they had to be humbled a little bit? They certainly were in week 1. I think they were maybe even more humbled in week 2. So I just bring it up because to me, it feels like this is a situation where I have just seen this so many times over the course of the last couple of years where, Clemson is that team that everybody, it feels like about 1 to 2 games every year in ACC play, where basically Clemson, this is the game, this is the year, this is the moment in time where Clemson gets knocked off by an ACC opponent. And I just feel like, dude, we've seen this story before. We've seen this narrative before. I think Clemson goes ahead and gets the win outright, and they cover the 4. Really quickly, last pick. We're actually going to go back to Friday night. Houston hosting Colorado. Colorado is a 6-point underdog in the Circus Sportsbook, which makes Houston a 6-point favorite. Over-under set at 43. I actually like Colorado to win this game. We talked a little bit about Colorado a few days ago when they made the quarterback change. Listen, we can talk about whatever. It's clear that Deion Sanders believes in Ryan Staub. And so if the coach believes in Ryan Staub, who am I to not believe in Ryan Staub? And I think if you watched the game the other day against Georgia Tech, you kind of realize, like, oh, like, that dude can make plays. And that dude maybe, listen, I'm not here to criticize Deion for not playing him sooner, but I just bring it up because you do wonder, like, let me put it this way. It feels like the team and the coaching staff have a lot of confidence in that guy. And you go back to the first couple weeks, and especially week 1 against Colorado, quarterback play was a little bit of an issue. Caden Salter was inconsistent. They put in Julian Lewis. It didn't really work out. So I just bring it up because, in my opinion, you have stability at quarterback. You have that big game against the Power 4 opponent in Georgia Tech. And with Houston, I just think, what do we know about Houston? Now, to their credit, they're 2-0. But if you actually look at who they beat Rice last week. Congrats on the win. And they beat Stephen F. Austin, not exactly a murderer's row. So I think Deion, I think Coach Prime, I think they go on the road. I think they get the victory at Houston. But I'll just take the points. I think +6, I think, is too many on the road. By the way, kind of the fun fact, Colorado is on the former Texas A&M tour. Texas A&M quarterback tour. Couldn't take care of business against Haynes King. We'll see if they have better luck against Connor Wigman. Don't think right now they have Zach Calzada on the schedule unless Colorado plays Kentucky. And oh, by the way, Zach Calzada is not even Kentucky's starter anymore. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, come back. By the way, should just mention again, all picks at AaronTorresOnline.com. We'll do the write-up later in the week. The picks, by the way, were Tennessee +4 Alabama, Wisconsin under 47, LSU, Florida under 47. We had Arkansas +8, Clemson -4, and we also had Colorado +6. Quick break, come back. I want to talk Joey Aguilar because to me, it certainly feels like this is a game where Joey Aguilar, I think, could become a national breakout star. We'll discuss Joey Swagular next. Quick break. Be right back. All right, we're going to get back to the show in a minute, but before we do, I have so many people that reach out and say, Torres, you give me hours and hours and hours of free content every day, every month, every year. What can I do to help support the show? Well, you want to support the show and look good in the process. Make sure to check out and support the Aaron Torres Media merch store at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. Some of you wondering, what can I get in that merch store, Torres? Well, Kentucky fans, we got our Mark Pope Hope and Pope t-shirts. That is right. Mark Pope, monster first year. Year 2 is going to be even better. Get your Hope and Pope t-shirt at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. Arkansas fans, the Big Pig Invasion is coming. It is here. John Calipari has things rocking. Get your Big Pig Invasion tees. Again, aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. St. John's fans, we have our Big Rick Energy t-shirts. And if you're just a college basketball fan in general, guess what? Your March is for Day Drinking shirt. That is the shirt that you need year-round, but especially for the next NCAA tournament. You can order yours now. By the way, football fans, we got you covered too. Auburn fans, we already know the freeze warning has hit the plains. Make sure to get your freeze warning t-shirts. Also, Nebraska fans, new era, new rules, the t-shirt that you need before the start of this coming season. And oh, by the way, if you're a Colorado fan, if you're just a Coach Prime fan, we have our Dion shirts and hats, more of them than we know what to do with. So to check out the full line of Aaron Torres Media merch and also support the show, good news is we're going to have even more for the fall. Check out the Aaron Torres Media merch store at aarontorresonline.com/merchandise. And for more information, you can always reach out at Aaron Torres Podcast Questions at gmail.com. All right, everybody. I'm back. Gonna be back. So tell you what, let's go ahead and talk about that man right there, Joey Swagular. Before we get to Joey Swagular / Joey Aguilar and what I think is going to be a fascinating conversation, let's go ahead and thank our friends and our ticketing partners, the official ticketing app of the Aaron Torres Pod, SeatGeek. Okay, so listen, Tennessee fans, you might be looking for last-minute tickets to this game. They're expensive. You don't want to, go into too much debt going to Knoxville this weekend. So guess what? You need a ticketing app that you can trust and a ticketing app that's going to help you out. You need SeatGeek. It is America's #1 ticketing app. Over 28 million downloads. The best part about SeatGeek, they tell you everything you need to know right on that app. Green dot means it's a good ticket. Red dot means maybe you hold off. Every ticket is rated 1 through 10. But the most important part is this. They have a special offer just for listeners of the Aaron Torres Pod. So you're sitting there, you're on the fence. Do I buy the ticket? Do I not buy the ticket? Let me help you out. How is that? It is because if you go to SeatGeek.com, that's SeatGeek.com or the SeatGeek app, if you use promo code Torres, that's promo code TORRES, you will get, how about this, $20 off your first purchase. By the way, maybe you and a friend buy separate, you log in separately, buy 2 tickets together, whatever. Maybe you get $20 off with your purchase, $20 off with his or her purchase. But all you got to do, go to SeatGeek.com, SeatGeek app, promo code Torres. You need tickets to, by the way, not just the Tennessee-Georgia game. Could be Ole Miss, Arkansas. Could be nothing college football related. Could be a Major League Baseball game, an NFL game, or concert show, whatever. SeatGeek.com, promo code Torres gets you $20 off your first purchase. Thank you to SeatGeek. With that said, let's keep the conversation going. And let's get to what I believe. Listen, the Georgia-Tennessee game is the most fascinating game of the college football weekend. We just previewed it. Spoiler, we don't have to get into spoilers. If you're watching this clip separately, you can go back and check it out. I do like Tennessee. But what I think more than anything, what I truly believe is that Saturday may be a national coming out party for that man right there, Joey Aguilar, Joey Swagular, the Tennessee quarterback. Okay, high profile game. 2 former college, 2 teams that played in the college football playoff last year. Rivals, SEC title, stakes potentially on the line. College football playoff stakes on the line. This guy with his story. Joey Aguilar, I believe, could be a breakout star nationally. I think he could be the biggest story in college football nationally by the end of Saturday. Let's go ahead and dive into why I feel that way. So first of all, let me say this. Joey Aguilar, for people who don't know the backstory, has about as cool of a backstory as you can have in college football. How about this? Joey Aguilar graduated high school in the spring of 2019, okay? So he graduates in the spring of 2019. He believes that he is an FBS quarterback. And by the way, I know a lot of Tennessee fans know this, but this is for the general audience that's going to learn this story over the next couple weeks, hopefully months, maybe even years if things goes really well, okay? So this is a kid that basically graduates in 2019, thinks he's an FBS guy, doesn't get an FBS offer, goes to JUCO, redshirts in 2019. 2020 is supposed to be his big breakout season. Then COVID cancels the 2020 season, okay? He has to transfer to a second JUCO. In the process, he's thinking about quitting football altogether. I believe the story is he actually started taking classes to become a firefighter. So he's thinking about quitting football, goes to a second JUCO in what is supposed to be his third year of college football. Is the backup at his second JUCO, wins the job. The fourth year at JUCO is finally the breakout year, ends up at App State. And oh, by the way, let's never forget that even at App State was not the starter, earns the job, and by the time he leaves, balls out and sets all sorts of records at App State, okay? Last spring, the winter portal hits. He's trying to figure out what his future is. He has 1 year of eligibility, going to UCLA, finally the big shot. Remember, he graduated in 2019 from high school. It took until 2025. So 6 years of college football, 2 different JUCOs, a canceled COVID season, a redshirt season before that. He almost quits football, goes into the portal, ends up at UCLA. This is his big chance to go play college football in the Big Ten, Power 4, show the world how good he is. Going through fall camp, going through spring ball, What ends up happening? We all know. Listen, he's tied to Nico Iamaleava forever. Nico enters the portal. And he ends up, basically Nico ends up being handed the starting job before he ever got there. I thought it was interesting. Matt, we'll save the Pete Nakos report for later, but part of the Pete Nakos report was the fact that basically Joey Aguilar's dad said the other day, we wanted to stay at UCLA. We wanted to compete, but it was pretty obvious that that there was nothing to compete for, that the decision had already been made, that we were not welcome there. And if you don't believe that Joey Aguilar was not welcome at UCLA, all you have to do is go to the Deshaun Foster quotes after Joey Aguilar went into the transfer portal. What was the quote? Tennessee fans, you know it. Deshaun Foster, I think in some ways trying to justify bringing in Nico, says something to the effect of, well, the last guy, his study habits just weren't very good, and we didn't like his work ethic, and he didn't vibe with the receivers. And it's like, dude, 2 JUCOs, App State, never, except for his final year at App State, was never named a starter anywhere going into a season. Beat people out at the JUCO level, beat people out at App State, set records. You mean to tell me this guy doesn't have a work ethic? Get the hell out of here, Deshaun Foster. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a jerk, but that was the biggest crock of you-know-what I've ever seen. And so to me, this incredible story that is going to be told on a national stage, and then I think we do have to counter it with the guy that he replaced and the guy that frankly replaced him, who is not doing very well, and that's Nico Iamaleava. And listen, Tennessee fans, I'll acknowledge, I think there's been a lot of people, including me, I'm not going to run from this, that have probably spent a little too much time focusing on the last guy, and I include myself. I'm guilty of it, so I'm not criticizing anybody who's doing it, but have spent a little too much, on the last guy and not enough on this guy. But what is indisputable is the fact that those 2 guys are tied together in history forever, right? And, maybe in 20 years, it doesn't matter to anyone other than Tennessee and whatever is left of the UCLA fan base, if such a thing even exists. But at the same time, they are tied together. And I think that's the component that makes this story even more interesting and Joey Aguilar even more of a sympathetic figure. You can feel, counter it with the other guy, but you can feel how much this kid feels grateful for being at Tennessee. Go to the other guy, right? And I hate to pick on Nico, but these are just indisputable facts. He was a 5-star kid, handed everything, millionaire while he was still in high school. Remember, he signed a 4-year deal that started paying him in high school because California has NIL rules that allow them to be paid. Was a millionaire in high school. Got to Tennessee with the understanding that he was going to be a millionaire before he got there. He was going to be a millionaire during a redshirt year, and he was going to be a millionaire starter. Everybody defended him last year when he frankly wasn't very good. And then we know what happened in the spring. He leaves, but it's clear no matter what Nico personally thought, his family felt disrespected because he wasn't getting enough money or whatever. Those are the facts. It's indisputable. 5-star dude, comes from California, feels like he's owed everything. Now you get the no-star dude who's also from California, and you can feel how much he, and as importantly, his family appreciate these moments, appreciate these opportunities. Joey Aguilar has said all the right things. He has done all the right things. You know, his family has become maybe bigger celebrities than him. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead, producer Matt. I want to set this up for half a second, but there was a video that surfaced this week of Joey Aguilar's grandma who flew in from California. I'm not even being sarcastic. I'm kind of choking. I'm smiling because I know sometimes when I smile, people get mad when I get serious and I smile. But I'm smiling because there was this unbelievable video of Joey Aguilar's grandma who flew in from California, basically bawling her eyes out, seeing her grandson have success. And it makes me emotional because I was very close to my grandma before she obviously, unfortunately, passed a few years ago. And you can see the pride on her face of what her grandson is doing. Producer Matt, go ahead and play that video. I'm telling you, it tears me up a little bit. I mean, that is unbelievable, isn't it? First of all, the one thing I'll say, Tennessee fans, I think the only person that might be more popular in your state right now than Joey Aguilar is Joey Aguilar's grandma. You know, it's so funny. I saw the video. I saw the comments on social media. We shared it on our Torres on the Vols account, which if you're a Tennessee fan, make sure you're following at Torres on the Vols so you know whenever we're talking about Tennessee. We have a great Tennessee student named Ben who helps me run that page, who does incredible work. But I bring it up because I saw the comments on the video of like, we love Joey, but abuelita, who, if for people who don't know Spanish, that means grandma, you know, like we want her to be our abuelita. We love her. She's our favorite, whatever. And, you know, it's funny because, you know, for people who don't know, I mean, I don't share much with my personal life on this show, but, you know, my wife is, you know, she's Hispanic and you know, whatever. And I showed her and she got emotional watching it. And it's an incredible story, right? It's an incredible story. And again, I swear I don't mean to keep making this about Nico, but you counteract how his, by the way, put Nico away from it. You counteract with how his family acted. Ungrateful, unappreciative. We deserve this. We deserve that. Well, whatever. You're not even playing well and you're being taken care of like a freaking king, okay? Counter that with this kid, with his grandma flying cross country. I think Joey even got a little emotional talking about the fact that, you know, she's getting older. She can't fly as much. So for her to be here, and this was obviously last week against East Tennessee, for her to be here, that was a special moment for us. And again, I don't mean to be sarcastic about it, but the videos have gone crazy viral. You know, again, my wife, who is Hispanic, was born in Central America. She was showing me videos that were showing up in her algorithm, and the story that it's become. So it's an incredible story. The family is appreciative. And I think I saw something also that I think is worth noting as well. I just love how their family's handling it. So producer Matt, you can share the clip or the tweet from Pete Nakos, who did interview Joey Aguilar's dad. And basically Joey Aguilar's dad, I love the way he handled it. He said, we don't have any problems with Nico. If anything, it's a thank you. I think it's clear we won the trade, which a little bit aggressive. But look at the fans and the stats. Everything happens for a reason. I mean, you talk about a family that is grateful. You talk about a quarterback that is grateful. I think this is one of the best stories that we have seen in college football in a while. And listen, I know we're going to get some Georgia fans watching and say, oh, Torres, you just want Tennessee to win. It's a great story. Tennessee has to win for the story to be incredible. But if they do win, I think Joey Aguilar might be the biggest star in college football come Monday morning. really quickly, let's switch gears. One last story. I do want to get to Blake Lawrence, the NIL insider, who I think is going to share a lot of insight into into the world of NIL. By the way, but I was going to do the SeatGeek thing again, but it's okay. We don't have to do it. All right. So there is one more story that I do want to get to. This story is a few days old, but I think it's at least worth acknowledging. Again, it's Friday. It's a little bit of a lighter show. We got to talk about this Haley Sawyer character. For people who did not see this story, I think everybody did, but it comes out on Monday. New AP poll comes out every Monday, right? And it comes out that there's one voter that has moved Florida up in the rankings after losing to USF. Okay. And so before we even get to this particular voter, what she had to say, which was comically awful, I have a pretty big stance on this stuff, is that to me, this is an honor. This is a privilege. I actually think there's too many people voting in the AP poll. I think it's too important of a thing. And I think that, we give it to a lot of people. And by the way, it's not everybody's fault, right? But first of all, the AP, they have voters in all 50 states, whatever. But at the same time, you have people that are covering games that can't watch everything. And so to me, doesn't matter to me. I'm not like offended. I don't have a vote. I don't care about having a vote. But why don't we get it to the people that eat, sleep, and breathe college football? Like, I don't know if Greg McElroy has a AP vote, but he probably should. I don't know if Joel Klatt has an AP vote, but he probably should. I don't know if Cole Kubelik has an AP vote, but he probably should. And oh, by the way, if for some reason, there's a conflict of interest because they call games, okay, then give it to Andy Staples, give it to Bruce Feldman, give it to whoever. It doesn't have to be me. The point I'm trying to make, too many voters, too many people that don't pay attention. And we saw it this week when a voter named Haley Sawyer was put in her vote. She covers USC for the AP, I believe. And she put in her AP poll, and in the AP poll, Florida had moved up 2 spots. So I bring it up because she went somewhere on social media to try to justify, try to explain why she made the decision that she did. Producer Matt, you can go ahead and play the sound.
What my votes are and what my process is. I wake up early in the morning after covering a game late in the night before. Don't want to go too much into my progress or process or logic, but I will say I appreciate everybody's interaction on social media and all of your feedback. There's tons of people that vote on the AP poll, and it's not a perfect system, but at the end of the day, no matter who you pick, it does even out because there's so many people who vote. And like I said, it's really fun for discussion. It doesn't, probably matter in the end, but I'm glad that people are having.
Okay, that's embarrassing. And listen, I'll just say it. Anytime a male media member criticizes a female media member, there's always pushback and there's always anger and there's always argument. I don't really care. What I will say is this: voting in the AP poll, just like voting for a Heisman, voting for whatever, it is a privilege, not a right. And if you can't do the baseline work of just checking box, listen, nobody expects you to be sitting in front of a TV 12 hours a day, taking notes, breaking down film. But if you can't do the baseline work to see who won and who lost, I'm sorry. You shouldn't have those privileges. You shouldn't have that job. I think, by the way, Matt, is this quote I'm seeing on the ticker? It says, Haley Sawyer, there are growing calls on social media for an AP voter to lose her voting privileges. Is that an actual quote from her, or is this just commentary from you? I think you're just kind of contextualizing it. Okay, so apparently Yahoo is saying that there is calls for her to lose her vote. I think she should. And I'll tell you why. It's for 3 reasons, really. One, well, really, there's several. One, it's just flat out embarrassing for her. There's a baseline expectation of your ability to do the job. By the way, her excuses don't even make sense. Let's even backtrack for half a second. First of all, she references something to the effect of, I'm up late covering games. And it's like, okay, first of all, 1, you can't check a box score, but 2, USC played Georgia Southern on Saturday. Okay. Let's just go to the USC page. This game, I believe, kicked off. I believe it was, I want to say like a 5 p.m. local time start. The AP story was up by 9:49 p.m. So about midnight Eastern time. Okay. But guess what? I live on the West Coast. 9:49 is early. Even if you got to drive home, whatever. First of all, just cast the ballot from the press box. You do your work, go through, figure it out, whatever. But the article's posted at 9:49. There were games still going on. Get home, watch the games, look through. What did you miss? I understand you have a responsibility to cover the game for your employer. The counter to that is you have a responsibility as an AP voter. The second thing, her argument of there are so many people that vote, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even make sense, right? Like, oh, so first of all, if there's so many votes, then that means that, okay, we could kick you out because guess what? You clearly aren't taking it seriously. And since there's so many votes, it's whatever. Well, let's just kick you out. But also, if votes don't matter, then why do we have so many voters? You can go. But if you take on that responsibility, you should. And I think to me, the three things that stand out specifically are, one, it's embarrassing for you. Two, it's embarrassing for the AP. Oh, that's what I was going to say, because I'm just going off the top of my head now. Is, she says there's so many voters that it doesn't matter, but it does matter. It matters because it sets the tone for the entire week of conversation about the sport. Okay. And so, like, I'll give you an example. Texas versus Ohio State was always going to be big. Texas, Ohio State, defending national champion, defending SEC runner-up, Arch Manning, Heisman favorite at the time going into that game. But what was part of the context of that game meaning so much? It was 1 versus 3. And if we didn't have votes, if we didn't have polls, or conversely, if we had a bunch of idiots that didn't take the job seriously and Texas was ranked 7th and Ohio State was ranked 24th, the game wouldn't have felt as big. So you can say that there's so many voters that it doesn't matter. Then one, either your vote doesn't matter, so get the heck out, or two, we can acknowledge that it does matter and it sets the discourse for the whole season. But I think, to me, the bigger frustration, it makes you look bad. It makes your employer look bad. It makes your employer sit there and say, like, why are we paying you? Whatever. It makes the AP look bad. And I'll say this too, and I try to stay out of, races, conversations about race, sex, whatever. Makes women in sports look bad, right? Because women in sports have been fighting for equality for a long time. And to have this woman not only screw up, but then just not even acknowledge that she screwed up, that's the worst part. Maybe that should have been the baseline conversation that I was trying to have right now, is that it's not about just that you screwed up. It's the fact that you deflected and you did not apologize for your screw up. Listen, I'll just, life hack advice from Torres here is, if you screw up, there are two ways to approach it. I think Lane Kiffin was the first one that kind of just said, look, when I screw up, I just stay quiet. I get off the radar for 24 hours because something else is going to happen that's going to push me off the radar. So if you're Haley Sawyer, the first thing you could have done was just completely ignored it, pretend like it didn't happen, whatever. But if you are, and by the way, something else would have come up and people would have forgotten it, whatever. But the counter to that is, if you are going to acknowledge it, you have to apologize and you have to acknowledge that you screwed up. And so the fact that she basically said, yeah, it's listen, I have my process and there's a lot of votes. So does it really? Yes, it matters. And if you're going to put a camera in front of your face, just say you screwed up. Just say you did something bad. Just say you whatever. And then we all move on and we realize that we all make mistakes in life. Nobody's perfect and it's whatever. But when you come on and you say, well, a lot of people voting, doesn't really, it's just embarrassing. So I could go on and on, but there's really no need to. Want to get to a couple comments before we get to our interview with Blake Lawrence. I think you guys will enjoy it. Daryl, I love it, man. Daryl says, can't wait for college basketball. Let's go. He's a Kentucky fan. You could tell he is not very happy right now. By the way, we have a separate Kentucky fan that says, is a UK fan, I can't wait till basketball. It's funny. Producer Matt and I were talking about the fact we're not that far. There's not a lot of basketball conversation right now, but I was looking at the exhibition slate. UConn's first exhibition against Boston College is October 13th. So we're about a month away. For people who, maybe you love college football, but maybe your team kind of stinks. Guess what? It's coming fast. Another 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to be time to start previewing college basketball, getting ready. By the way, Kentucky fans, good news is your season starts early with those 2 exhibitions against Purdue and Georgetown. Cannot wait. Kentucky Outdoors Life says Kentucky fans should stop going to home games or anything until Stoops is out. I'll tell you this. This might be a conversation for later in the year. That Stoops segment that I did on Sunday's show with the way that he just screwed up that game against Ole Miss, just the play calling, the this, the that, the clock management, whatever. We had so many great responses on that. We almost did a segment on like Kentucky fans sound off on the state of the program. The issue is so much stuff happened Tuesday between, starting our previews, what was it? The Billy Napier story about, how the AD is kind of turning on him. We didn't have a chance to talk about it. So if you're a Kentucky fan that's still mad, feel free to drop your comments in the comment section. Maybe we save that for an upcoming week because guess what? I don't think things are changing at all anytime soon as far as Kentucky is concerned. A lot of college basketball conversation in the chat today, which is totally okay. Kentucky Outdoor Life says we need a new coach at Kentucky. Purdue is a juggernaut. Well, I'll tell you what, they are not in football. They host USC. We didn't get to that. Basketball, I think they're going to be pretty good. I think Purdue should be number one in basketball, actually. I think they should be number one going into the season. Doesn't mean I'm going to pick them to win the national championship, but whatever. All right, I'll tell you what. So we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, really excited for this interview. So Blake Lawrence runs a company called Open Doors. Open Doors is the biggest NIL company in America. They help with brokering deals. They have this. They do so much in the NIL space. And I just thought it'd be a very fun interview to have on this show to kind of just set you guys up, to contextualize for you guys what it looks like for college football and what it means for college sports in general and where NIL is going. What do you need to know? We're in this rev share world, but we still have collectives and schools are starting kind of media. It's a crazy world. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. When we do, Blake Lawrence from Open Doors joins us. Cannot wait to talk to him. What's up, everybody? It's AT, and I've told you before, when I'm on the road, when I'm podcasting, sometimes you end up looking like a slob. Look at me, mismatched socks, I'm wearing shorts. What am I doing? The folks at FioBox said, Torres, let's get you some fresh gear to look better when you're on camera. Well, what do you think? This is all part of the spring collection for FioBox. These jeans, perfect when I want to go to games, casual, serious, business casual, you name it. Got the quarter zip. And oh, by the way, we got this perfect zip. This is the perfect spring, summer zip that you can wear when you're out with friends. Maybe it gets a little chilly. Maybe it's a little chilly in the morning. Perfect for all occasions. So this is what I need you to do. If you like what you see, and you should, what I need you to do is visit fioboc.com. That's fioboc.com, FIOBOC. By the way, FioBoc has a special promo code for listeners of the Aaron Torres pod. Use promo code Torres and get 20% off your purchase. Thank you again to FioBoc. By the way, make sure that you're following them on social media at FioBoc, FIOBOC. Thank you, FioBoc. All right, joining me via Zoom. Listen, NIL, the three letters that I think are constantly on the mind of anybody that works in college sports, is around college sports, or even a college sports fan. Open Doors has been there from the beginning, and we are welcoming on the man who is in charge of Open Doors. Want to learn a little bit about what you guys do, but also how fans can get involved and where the heck this thing is going. I know you have all the answers, Blake Lawrence, so no pressure. You got to solve all of NIL's problems in the next 20, 25 minutes if you can. How you doing?
Aaron, you and I both can solve all of these problems. NIL is easy peasy, right? Everyone gets it.
Well, listen, I mean, I can solve the problems. The problem is that then lawyers get involved. And unfortunately, I don't have much of a law background other than a few episodes of Law and Order. So that's where it gets a little tricky. I have all the answers. It's just then you get in a courtroom and, there's legalities to it and whatever. But for people who don't know, I actually, I think I was telling you a little bit off air, but I have actually used Open Doors before to kind of connect with some athletes. So I would ask you, take us through what you do, the beginnings. I was thinking about this. You're kind of a NIL pioneer, if you will, at probably 4 or 5 years old as a company, but take us through what you do for the audience that might not totally be familiar with your work.
Aaron, I might surprise you here. Open Doors is the real NIL company. We started in 2012.
Oh, wow. Okay,
how about
so that's
that,
awful journalism and research by
No.
me.
But I think that Open Doors has become synonymous with NIL. And I think for anyone listening and watching, that you have to understand, like, when you hear NIL, it means that an athlete is getting paid, okay? And just like all of us, you get paid through something, right? Like you are either getting paid through a payroll provider, you're getting handed a check, some cash, you got to get paid through Venmo. If you drive for Uber, you get paid through Uber. If you are an athlete in college sports, you get paid through Open Doors. Like this is the actual platform that 150,000 athletes use to get paid for NIL deals. And those dollars could be coming from fans, they'd be coming from brands. For a long time, they're coming from collectives, and now athletes are getting paid through from colleges, all through our app, Open Doors. Now, how does an NIL company start in 2012 is probably the question.
Yeah, that was my follow-up. Yep.
And if you can see over my shoulder, I got this banner, this Nebraska flag here. So I'll take it back. I was a starting linebacker in Nebraska, 2007 to 2009. Had dreams of going to the NFL, and was told one day I should never play football again. I suffered 4 concussions in a year. And so I realized that, athletes, their career is over usually before they want it to be.
Sure.
So started a company, Open Doors, to help professional athletes make the most of whatever time they had in the spotlight. So help some of my guys that went off to NFL from Nebraska, like Ndamukong Suh and Prince Mukamara, navigate this space. And that turned into a technology platform used by NFLPA, MLBPA, NHLPA, PGA Tour, Team USA. And so in the pro sports space, really the back end system to help pro athletes manage endorsement money. That just put us in prime position in 2021 when college athletes get paid to become the de facto platform for college athletes to use to manage that NIL money.
So take us through, because again, I've used the platform, but if I'm a UConn fan, which I am, or a Florida football fan or a Florida softball fan, I think that's important to note as well. I can just go on your website, right? And if I'm a Gator fan and I want to get involved, I can just search what athletes are available and connect right through there, correct?
Yeah, you can go to opendoors.com, which is the word endorse with OP in front of it, little play on words, Open Doors. And you can search for an athlete. There's 150,000 plus on there, professional athletes, college athletes, retired athletes. And it'll show you what services they offer, a shout out, an appearance, an autograph signing, a social post for your business. And you're like 2 clicks away from actually sending a real NIL deal, completely compliant, to an athlete they can review, accept, and then you can chat with them through the app. Say, hey, this is what you want you to do. My kid's birthday party's on Sunday, like starts at 5 o'clock, be there 30 minutes early and have that conversation. But Open Doors is supporting that from start to finish. The contract, the communication, the compensation, the tax documentation, the compliance aspects of it. So it helps athletes manage this. But if you're trying to work with athletes, where do you go? Right? It's like one of those things that 99% of college athletes don't have an agent.
Sure.
Right. But they do have an app, and that app that is Open Doors and that helps them navigate the space, actually get NIL deals, because everyone's wants NIL, but you actually have to have a platform to manage it. And that's what we are.
Yeah. And I think that's a misconception too, right? Is I think that, and I've talked to, collectives and stuff like that, where I think there's this belief of I have to be a, $100,000 donor or $50,000 donor for, quote unquote NIL. And to your point, there could be a softball player that would be happy to post an Instagram thing, or a tennis player. So NIL, am I fair to say that it's been misconstrued as the offensive tackle gets this much, and if I can't donate, I can't be involved, as opposed to, like you said, there's a maybe even a football player, I don't want to stereotype or whatever, but just that it's a much broader world than I think a lot of even fans, even all these years into NIL, fully realize.
Yeah, there's two sides to NIL. There's collegiate NIL, and that's going to be now all the dollars that athletes are earning from the college or from their collective, which is basically the college, and their sidecar. So you got collegiate NIL, then you have commercial NIL. Commercial NIL is like what fans and brands think of when they see commercials, they see billboards, they see advertisements on social media, they see autograph signings, that sort of thing. So where all of the conversation as sports fans is about collegiate NIL, how much of these athletes are getting paid. And it makes sense. 80% of all dollars in this ecosystem comes from collegiate NIL. Again, the value an athlete has to a college. Right. But what be surprising is 80% of the activities, like the things that athletes actually do, come from the commercial NIL side. Right. So when you think about NIL, again, most folks are thinking I've got to put a bunch of money into a collective and support this, but really it's the long tail of athletes that are making money through appearances, social posts, autograph signings, doing camps, clinics, and lessons in their free time. That's where the activities are. And so, yeah, anyone can get involved, and Open Doors makes it easy. And we do things like big brand deals as well. We manage multi-million-dollar campaigns with global brands for athletes, and all the way down to a $10 video shout out for a Division III softball player.
Fantastic. Let me ask you this. How important are you guys now in this rev share era? Because I think if you're listening to this show, you kind of understand rev share, but essentially every deal over a certain amount has to be basically approved, for lack of a better term. And I would guess, and I think, and I know that a lot of these schools are trying to find ways to truly give their athletes NIL opportunities as opposed to it being a pay-for-play model. Have you guys changed it all in the last 4 or 5 months, knowing that rev share is coming? But also, I feel like the app may be as important as ever as we navigate what we believe to be this next new world.
Yeah, certainly on the collegiate NIL side, schools can pay athletes directly. And if you're listening, that may not be new news to you, but I will confirm that they can pay athletes directly in the Division I space up to $20.5 million per year across all athletes and all that. So they've got to spread that out across the campus. So if there is a true cap to what the schools can pay, then the way that you're competitive is by having real NIL deals, those commercial NIL deals, so having brands and fans pay athletes for compliant third-party transactions. And Open Doors is the best in the industry at bringing those deals to market. I mean, I say that as a fact or a statement just simply because we've been doing it for 13 years, right? We bring tens of millions of dollars in real NIL deals to market every year, and now schools across the country. We just announced a partnership with Boise State where they hire us to go source and find real NIL deals for their athletes so they can have a competitive batch of dollars outside of what they're paying athletes. They actually have real brands, real deals coming to their athletes through Open Doors. And so there's a lot of schools that are looking to find every way to have as many dollars outside the cap as possible, so long as they're compliant, right? The other thing is there is a new sheriff in town, the College Sports Commission. So whatever happens outside the walls of the school can impact this school from a compliance standpoint. So they want to have a partner that they can trust, that knows how to deliver on these deals. And Open Doors has been that for a decade plus in this space.
I hate to ask it in this manner, but I would assume that if I, Aaron Torres, am doing a deal, through Open Doors for any athlete, that it is as you said, the College Sports Commission is the new sheriff in town. They're the ones that quote unquote approve of these NIL deals. Nobody, and again, we all trust what you're doing, but just for the audience that's asking, there's no they don't have to worry about, their associate AD calling them if they go through Open Doors and saying, what the heck is this X amount of money that you gave to X amount of players? Is that fair to say?
There's a lot of things. Openers will handle the paperwork, the little things.
Okay, great,
right? So when an athlete's disclosing these things, we'll make it super easy for them to share the exact information they need to stay compliant without burdening you as a supporter. Now, if you happen to be a big donor of any institution and your name shows up inside this clearinghouse, you may get contacted directly, right?
Sure.
But the first point of contact is Open Doors. So that's another benefit, is that we're really here to help the buyers support athletes, help the athletes get paid, and handle the administrative burden from them from start to finish. So again, the contracting, compensation, tax documentation, and compliance really falls into the Open Doors realm. So we're a first buffer. Now, if you want to go straight to an athlete, and if you have a contract, great, like have them sign it. And then if you have, tax documentation, 1099 forms that you can ship them out at the end of the year, like go for it, right? You can do all these things directly with athletes. It's just creating a tremendous burden for both you and the athletes. That's kind of where we sit in this market.
Very cool. You mentioned Boise because, and I do know there are administrators that listen to this show, coaches that listen to this show. So you guys are going into that community directly. So again, for people who may have missed that, Open Doors has been brought on by Boise State Athletics, among probably many others, to find the third party vendor that will then be connected to the athletes. If another school was interested in that element of things, take us a little bit through of what you do and like maybe how you'll I don't know if you can share details on the Boise deal, but like how hypothetically you would be supporting them.
Yeah, certainly. So Open Doors, we have nearly 250 schools across the country that already use our products, right?
Gotcha.
So we offer really three solution groups. There's software and support, so people can use our marketplace, our deals, some of our monitoring tools. So it's a software platform first and foremost. We have services and staffing, so we will actually provide education services to schools. We do a couple hundred visits to campuses a year to provide on-site education. We have staffing services, like where we're placing people on campus. But what Boise was one of the first to add on a sales and marketing plan, which is basically saying we're going to uh, hire Open Door specifically to go out and source deals for us. So instead of providing them the tools and they do it themselves, it's kind of like a DIY is what most schools do. And Boise was one of the first to say, no, I want you to do this for us. And
Sure.
that's something that, again, just leaning on our sales team and our marketing team to drive up interest and their athletes. So of the 250 of our or so our partners in the college space, we're expecting 50 or so to lean into this in this first year just to add on a sales and marketing service because those are the ones that want to have a competitive outside the cap budget for their athletes. And for us, we're well versed in helping athletes in certain markets make more money. And Boise again was one of the first to lean in, but we've got Colorado State as a partner of ours in that space. We've done a lot of things like this in Texas and Arizona State, Missouri, Ohio State. So there's big brands that value what we do, and if more brands want to get involved, we're certainly ready for it.
Dumb question. NIL just in general, are you surprised at how quickly it went from you can sign up to get a birthday shout out for $50 to where it was maybe over the last 6 months pre-rev share of, everybody seeing the dollars reported and what it costs to put together a football team and a basketball team. And, even Ohio State kind of openly bragging that, they were paying their program 20 million. Now, maybe, you played at the highest level, so maybe you're not surprised, but are you just surprised at how quickly it went from what it was supposed to be to what it actually became?
Yeah, I absolutely surprised at how quickly the innovation came to college sports to get tens of millions of dollars of college athletes. I mean, this is a space that has long avoided discipline as it relates to anyone everywhere doing anything to get a competitive advantage. And no matter what, I feel as if the industry, when I say the industry, maybe the shadow industry in college sports is always one or two steps ahead of the industry itself, right? And the creative elements of donors and collectives and support, like there is a lot of creative folks again that want to give their school a competitive advantage. That's why the collective is so innovative and this new group that came out tried to stop collectives from paying athletes altogether in July of this year.
Yeah.
And that lasted for 8 days.
It did.
Yeah, there's no doubt that if you want your team to win, you will find a way. And that's what makes college sports so unique. It's so different than pro sports because you get involved. People get involved. It is not a spectator sport as much as professional sports because there's a lot of involvement in building a great program.
Well, no, and I remember telling this to people 2019, 2018. Oh, just pay the players. What can happen? It's like, I'm not going to speak to any specific school, but it's like if there's an open market for the best available quarterback or point guard or whatever, you'd be surprised at what people are willing to pay. And now people are seeing it and people are seeing the chaos around it. Only other question I really have is, again, more for the fan that's listening. But obviously we know that the fans have been spread thin, right? Everybody wants their team to be great, like you said. Yeah. But, for the last year or two, it's been, we need this, we need this, we need this. And I think the word and the term donor fatigue has been a real thing. Sure. Obviously, we hope that's going to work, going to get better with rev share. But just bigger picture, where do you, as somebody who's an expert in this space, where do you see it going? Certainly you could share how you hope Open Doors to be involved, but I think everybody expects at some points for athletes to be employees, all of that. But even with that, there's been public pushback. I think Greg Sankey, even as recently as like SEC Media Day, said he didn't think that was the path. I could be wrong. My dates could be wrong, but just bigger picture, where do you think this is going? Fans want their team to be great, but obviously there's a cap on any fan base anywhere in America and on what they can realistically do year over year. So would just
Yeah.
be curious what you think and expect this thing to look like maybe 4 years from now. As from 4 years from July of 21
Yeah.
to 25, it's looking a lot different than it did. So where might this thing be going over the next 4 or 5 years?
Certainly. And Aaron, this is a quick plug. Like I wrote a book and released it about 3 weeks ago called NIL 101, the house settlement. Like that answers a lot of these questions. I think that it is simple, easy reading. NIL is complicated. House settlement's complicated, but like it's broken down one question per page, drawings and doodles, like how the heck does this work? So because I get these questions, we got hundreds of college athletic department partners and thousands of agents that use our product. So we get a lot of inbound, what's going to happen? And so that's what we put that together. And within that, we started talking about the reality of where the money's coming from or where it should come from. One of the reasons so many athletic directors were in favor of the house settlement is that they could stop having their dollars that used to go to them go to the collective. Because when it goes to the collective, they lose control.
Sure.
Right. And so most athletic directors are joyful that they can pay athletes directly because they're getting more control. The donors give the dollars to the school, they get a tax deduction, the school can then pay out the athletes. The question is, how much will schools be paying over the next 5 years? So at the 4% growth rate that's added into the house settlement by 2030, it'd be about $30 million a year that D1 athlete or D1 programs can pay. But there's also an adjustment period. So if college athletic departments start making more money, every 3 years this number resets and then there's a 4% jump on that. So this could be a $35-40 million limit by 2030. And where are those dollars coming from? Like, how's this going to happen? Well, what's interesting is this is based on a formula: 22% of earned revenue for college athletic departments. That's what the $20.5 million means.
Okay.
And 22% of earned revenue is nothing when you compare it to what percentage of earned revenue do NFL players get? 50,
Sure.
right? Okay,
Interesting.
so here's
Yeah.
an interesting thing. So where can this get to? If there's not a collective bargaining agreement and these kids aren't employees, then I'll give you an example. In European soccer, there's no union. But there's a rule. The teams cannot spend 100% of their revenue on players. They can spend 99.9%. That's the max. Okay. So
Huh.
you know what they spend? 99.9%. So what happens is if you don't cap earnings
Sure.
in a market where parity is not a desire, which European soccer and American college football very similar in terms of fandom. Okay.
Makes sense. Yep.
Eventually, the athletes in an uncapped college market ecosystem could earn up to 50%, 60%, 70%, 80% of the athletic department revenue, which
Hmm.
these revenues are $100 million plus athletic departments. So if you don't like the fact that college athletes are getting paid, the economics of the situation are likely to drive it to an outcome that, absent a union or collective bargaining agreement, they could be earning 50 to $100 million directly from the schools themselves within the next 5 to 10 years.
So people, I think there's this kind of belief, and we'll let you out of here on this, that, collective bargaining is bad. I think it's the thing that would, in theory, if you think that college sports is on the verge of whatever term you want to use, but if you are one of those schools that maybe can't compete at the highest level financially, that's actually what you want, or you don't want to speak for everybody, but it that's what it sounds like.
Aaron, here's what I'll say. If you are a college athlete, you do not want collective bargaining because you are on a clear path to having a lot of this
The
market
Johnny
be
Manziel, yeah,
in your
yeah,
pocket, right?
yeah.
Now, if you are a college athletic department, you're likely to soon be wanting collective bargaining because you're going to see more and more of the budget chip away into talent, right? And this industry has to figure out what it wants to be when it grows up.
Hmm.
Okay. Because some people are on the side of the pro, they're trying to help athletes by unionizing. Helping athletes unionize will decrease their earnings likely, right?
Hmm.
Versus this free market right now, because if college is going to pay 20 million, there's no collective spending limit. Like athletes at Texas A&M made $50 million last year,
Yep.
documented.
Yes.
Why would they proactively vote for an ecosystem where in which they would limit that earning upside? Like that doesn't compute. I
Sure.
can see A&M doing it or the SEC doing it. So fans may be a fan of collective bargaining because it could stop the transfer market,
Sure.
you know, but athletes benefit from that too. Athletes who transfer make 5 times more than athletes who don't.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
what if you were at your job and can make 5 times more by going somewhere else,
Five
would
times
you?
more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone listening would.
Sure. No, and that's where I think it gets like you hear about, well, this player, he was a senior and he was part of this and they made the Final Four, and it's like, yeah, but I hate to say it, like the world that we live in, this might be the most money that he'll ever make playing basketball again, and
It's
it's like, I am of the belief, I mean, just my personal opinion is, I am immune to all of it, is that, I wish that we were in a world, I was just talking to somebody a minute ago, like, yeah, it'd be great if we were in a world of 8, 9 years ago where everybody stayed for 4 years, and that's just under the current circumstances, it's not where it is. So anyway, I'll let you go. Blake Lawrence, listen, this was super informative in a short amount of time. You're a very busy man, so we appreciate you making some time. And again, use this platform to promote Open Doors in whatever way you want, whether it's for a fan that wants to connect with a player, whatever you think is the best explanation of Open Doors to close here, because obviously, even as I've learned over the last 25 minutes or so, it's a very dynamic business that, much like NIL, is constantly changing.
That's right. I appreciate you, Aaron. Thanks for having me on.
All right, that's Blake Lawrence from Open Doors. We appreciate the time. We'll talk soon, okay? All right, everybody. I'm back. Good to be back. Good to be back. First of all, thank you, Blake Lawrence from Open Doors, just for the time, for the detail. This is an ever-changing world, and there is literally nobody better to talk about these topics in this conversation than Blake Lawrence. So thank you to Blake Lawrence. Open Doors is an industry leader in the space. Tell you what, though, it's a Thursday afternoon at this point on the East Coast, and I do think it is time to get out of here as we get ready for the weekend. So first of all, if you're not subscribed to the Aaron Torres pod, please make sure to do so. You can do it on Apple, do it on Spotify. If you follow us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. We have just surpassed 60,000 subscribers. We can get to 70. How soon can we get to 70? How freaking soon can we get to 70? We're going to find out pretty quickly, but we really do appreciate your support of the show. So make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. And other than that, I think we're going to get out of here. Thank you to our partners, Circa Sportsbook, Circa Casino. Of course, they are taking very good care of us, and they're going to take very good care of you if you check out their facility out in Franklin, Kentucky, Mint, Kentucky Downs. I've mentioned it a few times. I'll be doing some live shows there later in the year. Can't wait to meet some of you at that spot. Also, thank you to SeatGeek and the SeatGeek app. $20 off your first purchase when you use the SeatGeek app. Just use promo code Torres. And oh, by the way, we do have one other great partner that we got to acknowledge. Our friends, our partners, as I just said, Collie Puffs and ColliePuffs.com. Okay, so I've told you all about Collie Puffs at this point, but family-owned company, not far from where I live. And listen, this new world we live in, we're trying to be healthier, we're trying to be more responsible, we're trying to eat better, we're trying to do all this good stuff for our bodies. So as we sit on the couch and basically act like filthy slobs on Saturday from 12 p.m. until after midnight, you need a snack that's healthy but delicious. You need Collie Puffs. This is the alternative to the crap in your grocery aisle. You don't need Doritos. You don't need Fritos. What you need is Collie Puffs. Baked, not fried, avocado oil, no grease, healthy ingredients. But the best part is they taste delicious. For more information, this is what I need you to do. Go to ColliePuffs.com. That's C-A-U-L. I always forgot how to spell Collie Puffs. I've been doing it for a year. CAULIPUFFS.com, ColliePuffs.com. You can also find them on Amazon.com. So if you search Amazon.com, you can find Collie Puffs. But if you go to ColliePuffs.com, check this out. If you use promo code Torres, you will get 15% off the entire purchase. So you buy one bag, you buy 100 bags, you buy enough to feed an army. You go to ColliePuffs.com. If you use promo code Torres, you get 15% off. Collie Puffs, an amazing partner. Thank you to Collie Puffs. Thank you to Circa. SeatGeek.com. Promo code Torres. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Time for us to go. We'll be back Sunday morning. People, what are we going to talk about? We're going to be talking about a Tennessee win. We're going to be talking about a Georgia win. We're going to be talking about Florida. Just go back to last week. I didn't think I was talking Florida on my Saturday show, yet here we are. Time for us to go. Make sure you subscribe. By the way, if anything crazy happens on Saturday, we could always go live on Saturday. So make sure you're subscribed. Turn on those notifications. Appreciate your support. Shout out to Torren Craig. Shout out to Rachel, who hates my voice. Shout out to JJ Reddick. You F-ed, unblock me, bro. We'll be back Sunday morning, maybe with some live reaction on Saturday, depending on how the games go.